All right, here we go.
Welcome back to the Joe and Todd Show. I'm Todd Wade.
And I'm Joe Mathis.
And we're going to talk about how to get along with creatives.
And I think it's really funny that you and Cheryl continue to make fun of this topic because I think it's a great topic.
It's a really long topic.
Why do you mean a long topic?
Listen to this. Collaborating with other creatives without getting someone mad.
Making someone mad.
See, I can't even say it without
collaborating with
mad.
Other creatives without someone getting
You're
mad.
going to make me mad here in a minute.
No, I think it's a great topic because I think as a creatives, we own our ideas and we own stuff.
So
and it's like so personal.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so inside us.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone begins to criticize, I can say the word, thank you very much. Be critical, add to their ideas.
You didn't say the word.
Take it and run with it. Then suddenly it does start hurting, which hurt leads to anger. And yeah.
So how do you deal with that? How do you collaborate on a creative project with other creatives and get along? I mean, it's since it is so personal and so almost delicate. We found some ways to work together, you and I.
Yeah.
We're both creatives, and
you don't make me mad very often.
The word creative has been bugging me a little bit, so I'm just going to clear the air.
Okay.
And Sharon and I were talking about this the other day without you in the room, so hopefully you agree with this definition.
Oh, good. Where was I?
I don't know. Scrolling Facebook.
Yeah. No, I was not.
No, but I think a creative is someone who wants to be creative.
Self-identified.
Yeah. Because everyone has an element of creativity. We all have that in us to be creative in some way or for matter. Whether it's playing an instrument or singing or drawing or writing or doing math problems or solving problems, building something. I mean, we've all got something in us. Be creative. We're way off topic here.
I agree with that in some ways, and I disagree in other ways because I think I've always been a creative. That's how I think. That's how I do. That's what comes out of me. But I didn't use that title for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't take on that persona for a long time as I rejected it. And so I get what you're saying. I think there is a certain amount where I had to come to terms and say, I am a creative. And one of the things about being a creative is my highs are high, my lows are low. I have emotions, I have thoughts, I have all this sort of stuff. I keep things to myself. I don't want to show my work. All that. And I think when I begin to realize that inside of me, that's when things like this begin to change and matter. I was thinking earlier when you said, when have you made someone mad or whatever, we're talking about the content for today's show. And I was thinking about, when have I made someone mad or what have I seen? And I think it really goes back to my childhood. I grew up in a very creative family. We had our own music show. My mom was over the top creative, did everything. And I was around a lot of creative environments. And I think I can think of several times growing up in that atmosphere with, especially interacting with other creatives. We would invite other people to play with us or write music for us, or we would invite people into our place, or even with productions, shows. And I saw a lot of people get mad. I saw a lot of creative people take their toys and go home. And I think for me, that even is part of why I rejected it, being a creative, is I saw them as being flighty and, kind of out of control sometimes, emotional and not controlled, not self-controlled, not under, and I think that was part of what I wanted to change about the world, was that creatives don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I saw so much. I think about even in high school and college, I saw creatives. I was in a singing group in college, a music group as part of our university. And one of the directors got mad and left one day and actually got in his car and drove to California. So
wow.
There's a lot packed into that. But I think it was because he wasn't being listened to, he wasn't heard.
Interesting.
And I think that's, in my mind, we start talking about this topic, part of the core thing here is listening and hearing and understanding. I know one of the times that really changed for me, I was fairly young. I was like 27, 28 years old, and I had written this entire production. I had written the music for it. I had written the words, everything was supposed to happen. I had it all done in my mind. I typed a lot of it out. on a typewriter. I had designed the set. I knew the costumes. I knew the characters. It was all identified. And I asked this lady to kind of help. A friend of mine who was very, very funny. She's just a great person. I actually asked her to be one of the characters in one of the actors. Mm-hmm. And she was a nurse, full-time nurse. And she came in and she began like collaborating. And in my mind, it was done. In my mind, this is what we're going to say and do. And she begins collaborating with it. You know what would make this really funny? Do you know what we should do here? And do you know what he should wear? And I remember very, very well that feeling inside of me, like, I don't see your name on this. It's my name. And I remember that feeling of like, I've got to listen. I've got to hear her. I've got to listen to her ideas. And that voice inside of me is like, calm down. Maybe this can have some good merit to it. And it was really cool because Chris is, she's since passed away, but she was such an amazing person who didn't come in as her ideas were the best or anything like that. It was just more like, hey, this is really fun. Let's make this happen. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome because what she brought those days, actually weeks of time, we began collaborating. That wasn't our first, we collaborated on several projects after that. But part of what she brought was I could almost have something finished and she could add those little twists and those little touches and those little, just the comedy gags of it, you know, of what someone was wearing or that hat that just, people would lose it when they walked on stage. And it's like, that was her idea. Mm. And I think that for me, that was the real change in my life of even when I think I know it all, or when I've got it all together, it's all the idea is perfect in my mind, bringing someone else in or adding someone else. And I'm the one that's not gonna get mad. I've got to listen to them. I've got to value them. And I've got to almost always incorporate what they're saying into what I'm doing. And I think I've learned from that. And I think, so then when I'm working with other creatives, we work with creatives all the time with what we do. I mean, every day we have creatives on our staff. We have creatives that we're outsourcing things to. We have creative clients, all that. And I think one of the things I've really learned is to value the process and to value, even if I think I know what it's going to do or what it should do, I want to hear them out and hear their perspectives. I think that's important.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So what do you think that Chris did on her part to work with you and not make you mad?
Well, I think for one thing, it was a fun environment. She was funny. She was
that was
funny.
One of the things. And that's why I wanted you could answer.
Like I think right off, as I remember, it was just the two of us in a conference room. And she was, we were kind of talking it through and she's kind of reading it through and she's like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. She gave me credibility, like, oh, this is really good. You know, it'd be really funny. And it wasn't offensive to me. It's like immediately she made it like we were working together. And it was laughter, lots and lots of laughter. Yeah. And lots of when she said her idea, I know there were times I'm sure I had to reel her in a little bit. I'm sure there were times like, that's a great idea, but our audience isn't going to totally embrace that, whatever that is. But I could usually pull a lot from her because she didn't have a lot of boundaries. She didn't have some boundaries. I had the boundaries. I knew what the boundaries were and what the safe spaces were. And I think that was part of it. I think another thing that I've been thinking about this question a lot since we started talking about it. I think one of the things too is the safe space of it. And I think that's a new term. We don't hear that a lot. We didn't hear that a lot.
What do you mean by that?
I think that with you though. So one of the things I think is successful about you and I collaborating together is that there's safety in it. I know that you're still gonna like me if I say, I don't care for the idea. If I say, I mean, when you say we have enough orange in our office, that's collaborative input, creative input, and I could laugh about it and go buy something else orange. It all worked out, but there's safety in it. I knew that you weren't going to, take your toys and go home. I knew you weren't. It wasn't that space where you're going to lay down the law. But I learned from that. I learned from that idea. I heard it. I listened that direction. I knew those boundaries or whatever the case is. But I think there's safety in that space, and that comes from trust. Really, I think safety has got to come from trust. The fact you're trusting others.
Yeah, I think one of the things we wrote down here was sharing experiences is important, but also creating trust and expectations is important. So understanding committing to a project together. First of all, usually that's a contract or an agreement to start with, and then moving through that project, you establish expectations of the different parties that are working on that project together.
I think even understanding the roles,
yes.
Identifying roles early on of like, I'm hiring you to do this, or we're working together.
You can see that in your story of you were the writer, you were the person who knew the audience, you had created the piece. She was a collaborator coming in and basically kind of giving. Her role was very defined as a like adding ice on the cake, or however you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she wasn't the writer. She wasn't going to rewrite the story. Right. The content. And so I think both of you, first of all, you inviting her in and giving her a relationship with you, and then establishing you're the writer and she's the gag
absolutely.
The comedy adder,
even
or
visual comedy. Yeah, absolutely.
Visual comedy person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is that space of creating those lanes, creating those roles, and learning to stay within those. I think about that meeting that we just had yesterday, whatever it was, with the AV company. And, in the room is Chuck Halliburton. I think is one of the most creative people ever. He's so quiet, but his ideas just flow. Yeah. And part of the importance to me of meeting with them as a company was to have their input on this event and their design of it. And we already knew some stuff we wanted to do. We knew some elements. We knew some things we wanted to hang from the ceiling, what that was all going to look like. But the thing I loved about that meeting was the collaboration of it. We knew we're going to design what's hanging from the ceiling, but they're going to be responsible for hanging it, for lighting it, right, for taking it down, whatever. And it was really valuable to me that I had their input. And I don't know how it happened in that meeting, but one of the things I loved in the end was where we said, let's rate these ideas. We've now made 5 ideas, which I think I went in the meeting with. You went in the meeting with 1 idea, and I went in the meeting with maybe 2 ideas. But in the end, we had like 5 or 6 ideas that I loved, and then to rate those and kind of go, let's figure this out together. What's most cost effective? What's the cheapest and what's the most expensive? What's the easiest? What's the tackiest? What's the best? What looks the best? And really able to rate those and to come back to something that felt frugal for our client, felt effective, didn't feel like a waste of money, but was definitely doing what we needed to do to tell the story. And to be able to go back and present that to the client and say, this is how we're doing it. Felt really good to me. I love that. I love that collaboration. And no one got mad. We fed them. Well,
that helped. And we had some comedy relief in the conversation. But yeah, no, they're obviously the audiovisual company, and we're obviously kind of the event designers or event coordinators. And so knowing those roles going into the conversation helped us stay in our lane, basically. They stayed in their AV lane of rigging and speakers and microphones and screens and projectors, and we stayed in our lane of concept design, making sure that the client's vision was captured and portrayed, and also just the decor side of the project. So
I think one of the things that was important to me yesterday that I realized has become a habit, I guess. There was a time in my life where I felt really knowledgeable in lighting and technical stuff. I had lighting classes in college. I was a theater major. I was around all the time growing up. I was around technical stuff growing up. I carried sound systems in 9th grade. I could do that. And at some point, I kind of made this decision of I'm not a technical person. I'm not going to the technical world. And I think there are times that I can fall into almost a trap of feeling like I know what I want from a technical side of things. So we're starting talking about lighting instruments and gobos and whatever, Fresnels or whatever, and suddenly it's like I had to step back. And one of the things I said in that meeting, and I heard myself say it, is I'm not the expert here. You're the expert here. Yeah. You need to tell me what to do. And I had to do that to soften myself a little bit. I knew I was coming across like
this is what you need to get.
This is
to
what
this
you need
event.
to do. Yeah. And I don't want to be that way. And I'm not that way. And I think that's exactly right with what you're saying about lanes. I think that's part of that value.
Yeah.
And
one of the other things we talked about is that we, we create a vocabulary when we're talking with other creatives. There's words that we use, even in you and I, our conversation, we have shared experiences and shared conversations. So we're able to use those words that, both of us understand what it means when we say, I can't think of a word right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I also think there's a certain amount of friendship that has to be about it. I was thinking this the other day, even with Julie, when we were talking about room design and permanent installation stuff. And I was thinking, we need to go out and have dinner with her. We've never had a meal with her. And it was kind of that moment where I began thinking about the fact that I love that the people we collaborate with in creative ways, we want to be friends with. We want to hear their stories. We want to ask about their kids. We want to know what's going on in their world. And I think that's an important part of that whole process. I think to hire somebody and bring them in and not know their story, to have someone working with you collaboratively and not know where they're coming from really puts you at a bad situation. I love that we talked about Julie's wedding. We talked about all the stuff going on in her life. And I think that really helps me to understand as we collaborate together where she's coming from and what she's about.
Sure.
We know her mom's profession. We know what she did growing up. It's like, I think that helps me understand what her space is about.
I think that's something you're really good at working with as we work with creatives. It's not just about the project at hand. I'm sometimes a little more detail oriented than you are, but you're asking about people's lives and building that relationship.
You're saying, let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's get the to-do list figured out. But no, I think building that relationship is, it's that setting up the structure to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can't really think of very many people that we've worked with them very long that we decided we didn't like and still kept working with them. I mean, it's like we have to want to be friends with them. I think that's an important part of it.
Well, if you don't trust them to not take your ideas seriously or respect your ideas, and vice versa, then that relationship has a hard time succeeding.
Or do what they say or whatever. Yeah. I think, as an adult, as one of the older people in the profession at this point of event planning, I think the things that I've found so many times is that you do have the divas, you do have the people in the business who are degrading and demeaning to those around them. And I, again, made that decision many times over and over and over of I never want to be that. I never want to appear that way. I don't want to do that. And there's times that's a struggle. I don't mean to not say it's not, because I think there is a part of you where I thought that at another meeting we had this week, when I walked away and felt like, you idiots, stop, just get out and go sell insurance, like, to that lady or whatever. And there's a certain amount of me that I had to step away and really think about some of our vision and mission of helping young people. And probably what needs to happen is we need to take her to lunch. We need to get to know her. Why did she choose events? What's she about? As dreadful as that sounds, I know that's something we've got to do. And we've got to make that space where we can collaborate together. We're going to be working together on a lot of stuff. And we need to have that relationship where she trusts us and where we can trust her. And I think there's a good lesson to be learned there about that.
That's good. Good stuff.
Wow.
Did I make you mad?
What, just now?
Mm-hmm. Not as we're working together today.
Not during this episode. Really, I do think for you guys out there who are listening to us ramble, I do hope there's something in there that you hear. And I think part of it is a heart and passion that in this creative world that we live in, there's so much space for disagreement. There's so much space for hurt and anger and all those things. And I really want to encourage you to step back and kind of think about that. And sure, there's going to be people that you have creative differences with, to quote one of my favorite lines from the show, that you have creative differences with. There's going to be people that you just don't enjoy being around. I think that's okay. I think that's okay to not collaborate all the time with them. But I also think there's a lot more that is in richness of collaborating with creatives and coming together and working on things and figuring out solutions that involve being in a safe environment, being in a fun environment, staying in your lane, knowing where your lanes are, knowing what your roles are, and really doing that in a way that you understand them and they contribute well to your project. And I think that's a bad habit that a lot of us are in, of like, my way's the only way. This has been good, therapeutic.
Yeah, hopefully it's helpful to you guys. Appreciate you listening and watching on YouTube and all the places. We got it on our website. You can go there to watch it.
Rumbledrum.com.
Rumbledrum.com. Yep. Or you can listen to it anywhere you listen to podcasts.
I'm so used to saying rumbledrum.com, that's all one word, or like Rumbledrum, that's all one word, that when I still don't want to say that with the website. It's rumbledrum is all one word.com.
Yes.
And then I remember there's no
all
spaces.
Websites are all one word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there won't be. Maybe someday someone will be listening to this 50 years from now and they go, oh, that's helpful. It's all one word. Because you get
if they had spaces.
Spaces are the thing of the future. Probably not. Probably not.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to us ramble again. Take care. We'll see you soon.